We've got some breaking news in Canberra. Attempts at a last-minute peace deal between the Nationals and the Liberals. Trudy McIntosh has this exclusive information. Trudy, what do you know?
Well, Kira, this has just been announced outside of our newsroom here. So fast was this by the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, that the cameras actually didn't have the satellites up. David Littleproud has confirmed he had this meeting with Sussan Ley here in Parliament this morning. And as a result, the Liberal leader has agreed to reconvene her party room to discuss those 4 key policy principles that the Nationals have been demanding. So nuclear power, supermarket divestiture powers, and also the regional fund plus telecommunication services. Now, that had been the sticking point that the Nationals said. Because of that today, that agreement by the Liberal leader to reconvene her party room to discuss that, the Nationals leader has just confirmed that he will send home his, he was expecting, he said, to announce his spokespeople today as a national spokespeople, but as a result, he says, quote, as an act of good faith, that he will not do that today, and he will send his Nationals team home today from Canberra, Kieran, in an attempt to allow the Liberals time to come to an agreement on the portfolios. We have only heard the Nationals side of things here. This is just into the newsroom in terms of those comments that we'll bring you as soon as we can get them in. But this breaking news that there is an attempt to broker peace in the coalition now, to reform because of an agreement that could be reached. Is the stress could be reached. Yeah. It is up to the Liberal party room whether they would like to agree to this and the leader, Sussan Ley. But from the National side, they believe they have been able to broker a concession from Sussan Ley in terms of at least going back and discussing those 4 policy demands. Well,
I know that you had heard that there was possible peace negotiations underway and we were going to report that.
Yep.
But Littleproud's just jumped up and made that statement. So confirming what the mail that you had received, I just wonder now, will we see this deal done and this crisis really averted? Because once you set up a front bench on both sides, it really entrenches the split and it makes a rapprochement so much more difficult down the track.
And that probably helps explain why we haven't seen a exclusively Liberal-only shadow ministry announced by Sussan Ley. There has been a push to stall on that. As soon as either side announce their teams, it makes it more difficult in terms of a reconciliation. So behind the scenes in the last 12 hours, there's been a lot of negotiations underway. Sussan Ley had also been making calls, Kieran, to Nationals MPs who did not support the decision to split, most notably the former leaders Barnaby Joyce and Michael McCormick. There's at least 4 Nationals who did not support this move. You can also see Darren Chester and Sam Birrell as a part of this cohort. So Sussan Ley, in essence, it looks like to me, with a bit of a pincer move here, speaking to people in the Nats who didn't support the move to split. But as we confirmed this morning, she also had talks directly with David Littleproud, and that's the basis on which he's now publicly agreed not to announce his spokespeople. He will send them home. His hope is that now, because the Liberal party room will reconvene, we don't have a time for that yet, that they will be able to reach an agreement on the policy framework. That, they've always said, is the sticking point, that they've got to an agreement on cabinet solidarity. So watch and wait. This is a moving feast in terms of potential reconciliation. It may have been, a marriage breakup that lasted 2 or 3 days.
Well, that's how you like it.
I prefer they don't break up at all.
If you're going to have a breakup, just keep it to a couple of days as opposed to a couple of years. And so the next step is we await notification from Sussan Ley's team as to when their virtual party room, because they won't have time to get here.
No.
So it's a Parliament House, so they'll have a virtual meeting, you would imagine, in the next hour or so.
Yeah, you imagine this has to happen today. It happened pretty quickly earlier in the week when the Nationals essentially ambushed the Liberals by saying that they would walk away from a coalition agreement. It's pretty easy that people can link up on teams. That will be up to the Liberal party room. How much grace are they willing to give to the former junior coalition partner who it looked like threw their toys out of the cot over the policies and now want all the toys back in the cot? So tortured metaphor, but it's one of those weeks in politics where it's a lot happening behind the scenes, and I just can't stress how rushed that process was. David Littleproud coming straight up, not waiting for anyone to be ready to announce that he has got a concession out of Sussan Ley.
Yeah, it's all been pretty messy. Thank you, Trudy.